Thank you, Reverend Michael, and thank you, Aaron, for that meditation. Got a great voice for it. Thank you. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
The topic today is faith. And as I say the word faith, I know that each of you has some sort of definition for that word. And I remember at times being asked, "What is your faith?" And I would respond with what my religion of birth was. And if someone would say, "Have faith in me," then I would define faith as trust. If you look at what the dictionary says, faith, according to one definition in the dictionary, is a belief in the truth of someone or something. So how do we develop faith if it's trust and truth and believing? In order to really trust, doesn't it help to have a knowing inside of ourselves that what we're placing our faith in is really the truth? So doesn't it make sense that faith is really something that we know inside is really true? Faith is our inner knowing. I think it's also important to point out that at one time, people had full faith that the earth was flat. And it was common belief that if you ventured out too far, you would fall off the edge. So I think it's important to have faith to know that our inner knowing is always evolving and changing as we're evolving and changing. So what is it that we know? What is it that we know right now without a doubt is true? Well, I know that when I go outside in the morning, the sun is there. It doesn't matter if it's cloudy or if it's rainy. I know that even if I can't see it, the sun is there. I know this. I have full faith that this is true. I know that if I plant a watermelon seed in the ground, and if I water it and nurture it, and if it sprouts and grows, I know that I'm growing watermelon. I'm not growing tomatoes from a watermelon seed. I'm not going to get tulips or roses from a watermelon seed. I'm going to get watermelon. I don't need any further proof. I just know I have faith in this. I trust it and I believe it. I also know that on the day I plant that watermelon seed, I don't get to enjoy eating watermelon. I have to wait for the seed to germinate and come through the ground. And then I have to wait for the plant to start to form and grow taller and stronger. And then the plant needs to flower. And when the flower falls off, the fruit begins to form. And after a proper amount of time, the fruit is going to ripen enough to pick the melon and enjoy the fruits of all of that initial planting. And think of how many melons grow on that one plant from that one seed, and how many new seeds are created within each melon. From that one seed comes a pretty incredible creation. From that one seed, we are creating. If we keep in mind that this same principle applies to us and the way that we create our lives, we can actually begin to make sense out of how our experiences are actually formed. I know, I have faith that I'm the one responsible for what I decide to plant for myself in my life. If I plant happiness and nurture it, I'll reap happiness. If I plant sadness and nurture it, I'll reap sadness. Makes a lot of sense to me, and it seems really simple. If happiness is where your focus is, then that's all that you should be reaping, right? You should be seeing nothing but happiness in life. Well, actually my life is really pretty great, but believe me, I get my share of ups and downs, just like everybody does. When times are tough, I keep reminding myself, just keep planting the good stuff. I know that I've planted a wide variety of experiences in my life, some really great, and some that I would just as soon not really think about. So even though I know that while I'm planting happy, healthy thoughts, there could be that self-doubt or anger or guilt that I planted a long time ago and nurtured, that all of a sudden has sprouted its ugly head and created havoc in my life. The very special thing about knowing these principles of cause and effect, planting and reaping, is that I know, I have faith, that when things are the toughest, that's the time to really focus on the opposite. It may seem upside down and backwards to say I love feeling healthy, when at the time I'm feeling very much the opposite of that. But that's actually a powerful key to change. As I've examined what the mind power of faith means to me, I've realized that it's faith in oneself that's the most important. You're the one who picks yourself up when you fall. You're the one who thinks in your mind. It's up to you to create happiness, health, and wealth in your life. If you wait around for someone else to come along to create your happiness, you're going to get really good at waiting. I had a friend ask me one time how long I would continue to do all this positive stuff even if it didn't seem like it was working. So I told him I was going to keep doing it forever. I'll keep planting seeds of happiness, health, and wealth in my life because I know that the natural principle of cause and effect is always at work. I know that I'll reap what I sow. Why should I intentionally plant the opposite of what I want? I'm also aware that I've planted experiences that were not happy, were not healthy, and were not wealthy at various times in my life. I've only been aware of my own inner power and my own spirituality for relatively few years now. It's been a while, but relatively few. And I'm definitely more than just a few years old. So I have quite a conglomeration of experiences that I've nurtured at other times in my life. And I understand that sometimes I'll have challenging times along with the good ones. But I have a really strong knowing within me that I always have choice as to how to react to the tough times. And knowing this, why would I knowingly choose to replant negativity in my life? That just does not make sense to me anymore. My friend asked me also, said, well, would you continue to be positive even if your life was negative all the way up to the end? Well, yeah, I would. I'll continue to move forward doing the best that I can to choose my thoughts, words, and actions with as much love, compassion, peace, and harmony that I can. And I know that I do get immediate results because it just feels better to choose in a happy and healthy and wealthy way. It just feels good. And even if I were to have unhappy experiences or experiences of lack or times of ill health, I know that I'm planting for the future. For this life and for future lives. There is no end to me. There is no end to you. It doesn't matter what age you are. Every person can create change for themselves. Change for happiness, health, and wealth, or create the opposite. It's up to each person as to what they choose to do in response to life's experiences. Another friend talked to me one time about why he's an atheist. And he said that his experience in life tells him that we're born, we live a life, and then we die, and it's done. And he said, there's no spirit world, there's no God. He wondered how I could believe in God. And I told him that I believe in God and the spirit world because my experience and my knowing tells me that it's so. And I can tell you the story about how I first came to believe that God is in me and in everyone and everything. I used to be afraid to meditate, and that sounds a little bit strange because I love meditation now. But I was afraid to quiet and open my mind because when I was quite small, about 9 years old, I had an experience that terrified me. I was in my room and I was reading, and I felt myself getting so relaxed that I couldn't see the pages of the book anymore. I tried to refocus on the book, but my mind was just going into this totally relaxed state. And then I felt this buzzing energy completely take over me. The room changed colors, and I was actually physically paralyzed. I couldn't move. I had no control over my body. And then there were people, gray people with cloaks, standing in a semicircle at the foot of my bed. And I was so scared. I wanted to scream or run, but I couldn't. I thought that these were dead people coming to take me away. And one of the people reached for me, and I was desperate to get away. And I finally figured out in my desperation that struggling wasn't working. I finally relaxed myself and then got myself out of the energy. I never told my parents or anyone else, at least not for many, many years. I'd been told previously that things that I saw were dreams or figments of my imagination. And I know more about the creating power of imagination now too, but that's a different topic. This experience of mine was very, very real, and I had to figure it out for myself because in my mind, one day, those dead people would just come and get me, and I would die too. At least that's what I thought. I thought I would just disappear one day. So from the time I was 9 until I was actually in my late 40s, I practiced blocking those energies from happening. I had full faith, full knowing that as long as I was diligent in my blocking techniques, that I would be safe. Well, a number of years ago, quite a few years ago, I read a book about a woman who had similar experiences, and she told of how scared she was until she met some people who helped explain the experiences to her and helped her to develop instead of blocking them. So I decided, well, maybe I was wrong about those people. Maybe I could find out more. But I really wanted to protect myself, so I wrote to the woman who authored that book that I had read, and she sent me a prayer of protection that she uses for herself. I also went to a psychic fair and I spoke to someone who suggested that I meditate. So I decided to work on my protection prayer first to make sure that I could remember it all. And one night I woke up in the middle of the night and I just had this scared feeling that I couldn't remember the words to my prayer. And I tried to remember those words over and over in my head. I was praying with all my heart and soul that I could remember the words and that they would work to protect me. And all of a sudden, I was in this incredible swirling light. I had no body. It was my mind, my spirit that was there, and all the words to the prayer had changed to my own words, words that I was familiar with. And the voice was huge and powerful. And I knew that this was the voice of God. And it was actually my voice, just much more powerful than mine has ever been. it was then that I knew where God was. Not away from me somewhere, right inside of me, always with me. We are one with God. We are that eternal, universal, divine energy. It was the very next morning that I started to seek teachers who could help me to learn how to work with myself and to slowly take down the blocks that I had built up over so many years. And eventually my searching brought me here to the chapel. And when I heard Reverend David teach that God is within us and not separate from us, I figured, I think I came to the right place. I haven't had that same experience again, although I've had others that have helped me to understand myself and my connection to the different energy vibrations that I've experienced all my life. But whenever I have days of doubt, I take myself back to that moment when I knew, absolutely knew where God was. And that's where my faith is, within me. And the people who scared me by my bed so many years ago, they're spirit teachers and healers. And I no longer fear the energy feelings that I get. I've learned how to work with my energy in a healthy and controlled way. And I now have trust, belief, and truth to go along with my experiences. And that's a wonderful knowing. That's faith. What my faith has taught me is that it's always possible to learn more. It's always possible to think beyond anything that's been thought before. You have infinite knowledge within you. All you need to do is continually work with knowing yourself better, which in turn can help you better know and understand others, which in turn can help your life to flow with a bit more ease. I've replaced a tremendous amount of fear in my life with such incredible joy in my life. And I know that I can handle even the tough times with a little bit more ease than I was able to in the past. This I know, with faith in myself, faith in that divine creating energy within. What I encourage you to do is to examine where your faith is. Where do you focus your inner knowing? Is it creating health, wealth, and happiness in your life? Is there some word, some thought, some action that you can change to move in a more positive direction? Your life is yours to create moment by moment, thought by thought, word by word, action by action. Be aware, have the faith, the inner knowing that you have, that you are the divine power that creates happiness, health, and wealth in your life. Have the faith and the awareness of how you're creating you every day. God bless you.
Thank you, Reverend Marsha, for sharing.